All right, let's go ahead and open up the box and see what's included with clue number 2. I do have my instructions here already for my large clue 2 for So Sweet. And of course we have our, make sure to save this, don't lose this, and even if you do, you know, take a picture of the back here so that way you always have it. We have our fabric guide, and here we have clue packet number 2. So let's go ahead and open it up. All right, and as a reminder, I do get the instructions for both the large and small quilt, so if you need help with your small quilt, you can reach out to me and I can try and troubleshoot as best as I can, but I do have the instructions for both large and small. So for our first one here, we have 4 small triangles of fabric A. We have 12 small squares of fabric A. We have 8 small squares of fabric F. We have 4 small triangles of C. And remember, for the powdered colorway, your red parrots are fabric C and your blue parrots are fabric D. We have 8 large triangles of fabric C. We have 4 large triangles of fabric E. Next up, we have 12 large triangles of fabric A. We have 12 squares of fabric A, large squares of fabric A. And last but not least, we also have 4 small rectangles. I guess they're small. It is a rectangle. It's the only rectangle in this pack of fabric A. I'm going to go ahead and take all of these and put them on the table behind me, and we'll get started with step number 1. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with section or clue number 2. It doesn't really matter. I refer to it as clue number 2, but it doesn't matter either way. Remember, you're using 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I got several questions on if I should use a scant 1/4 inch or the actual 1/4 inch, and it really doesn't matter. As long as you're being consistent with every single clue, it doesn't matter if you're using either one, just keep it consistent from clue to clue. For step number 1, it says you'll be making 4 of section 2. The instructions below tell you how to make all 4 sections at the same time. And for step number 1, it says to join a small triangle of A to a small triangle of C. And we're going to make 4 of those. So we're just going to do half square triangles like we always do. Super easy, and I'm going to go ahead and make that happen, and I'll come back when it's time to press them out. Okay, I have sewn all 4 of those together, and if you notice in the directions, it doesn't say which way to press, but if you look at the arrow, I don't know if you'll see it here on camera, but if you look at your instructions, there's a little arrow. That arrow indicates what direction you are supposed to press everything in. So for this one, we're going to be pressing towards our A fabric, and remember, we do half square triangles by going up, opening it up like that, and then straight over, and pressing it out. If you've seen me here on my channel, that's what I do to press out my half square triangles, and it really seems to keep from warping them out. So that's step number 1. We're going to go ahead and move on to step number 2. I'm not even going to cut the camera off because it's really easy. For step number 2, we're going to take a square, our small square of A, and we're going to attach it to the left of step 1, and we're going to make 4 of these. So you're just basically matching up your fabrics A and A, just like this, and we're going to make 4 of them. I'll meet you back here when it's time to press all 4 out. Okay, I have completed step number 2. Again, I'm pressing towards my A fabric. The arrow is pointing towards A fabric, or the square of A fabric, so I'm just going to go ahead and press it just like that. Oops, this made that one a little wrinkly by accident, but that's okay. You can smooth it out just like so. All right, so I have 4 of those that look just like this. Let's move on to step number 3. Okay, moving on to step number 3, it says to join a rectangle of A above step 2. So we're just going to combine these like this. Again, it matches, all the fabric matches up together. So we have A, and that's all we're going to do. And then when we're done, we're pressing up towards our A rectangle, and we're going to make 4 of those in total. So I'm going to go ahead and take all 4 of these over to my sewing machine, and I will join you when it's time to press everything out. Okay, I've completed that. We're pressing towards our A rectangle on the top, so I'm just going to go ahead and press it out like that. A couple of my blocks were weird in that they kind of, I don't know if you can even see that on camera, but there's a little hangover. They didn't quite, this rectangle seemed to be a little bit longer than our step 2, And that happens. It's not a big deal. It really isn't that big of a deal. I usually am able to kind of finagle it when it's time to put it all together for the final quilt, so don't stress too much about that. We're going to go ahead and move on to step number 4. Okay, moving on to step number 4, it says to join a large square of A to the left of step 3, and we're going to make 4 of these, and when we're done we're going to press towards our larger square of A, so we're just going to butt that up just like that. You should have where all the same colors match up together, and we're going to do that 4 times, and I'll meet you back here when it's time to press everything out. Okay, I have completed sewing all 4 of those, and I'm pressing out. Remember, we're pressing towards our large square of A fabric. So I'm pressing them just like that. And now I have all 4 put together like this, and it looks like we're going to go ahead and set these off to the side while we complete some other things. So I'm going to come back to this in we'll come back to these in just a moment. But for now, I'm going to grab the fabric for step number 5. All right, next up we're going to use our F fabric. So we have join a small square of F to a small square of A as shown. We're going to make 8 of these. So we're just going to put our F on the left and our A on the right. And we're going to make 8 of these in total because it looks like we're going to be making a checkerboard. So I'm going to go ahead and sew all 8 of these together, and I'll meet you back here when it's time to press it out. All right, I have made all 8 of them. I'm pressing them towards my A fabric, and with this fabric that I'm using for powdered, I wasn't really sure if I wanted to put them all the same direction or not. I really just kind of grabbed, and all the diamonds go in one direction, but for powdered, I don't think it really matters which way they go and how they go, so enough of that. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and move on to step number 6, so I'm going to move some of these out of the way so we can complete step number 6. Okay, I have my fabric that we just used in step 5, and now it's time to move on to step number 6. And it says to turn step 5 unit upside down and then join to another step 5 unit to make, to measure the blah, 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 blah. I can't speak there. Sorry, I don't know what happened. Anyways, I would cut that out, but you know, it's kind of funny. Anyways, turn step 5 unit upside down, then join to another step 5 unit. We're going to make 4 of these. So we're just making a checkerboard that looks like this. So we have our F's on the top left and the bottom right, and then our A fabric is going to be on the bottom left and the top right. We're just going to make 4 of those, just like so. And then we're going to press it towards the top when we're all said and done with. So I'll meet you back here when it's time to press everything out. All right, I have completed making our checkerboard. I've done that 4 times. And now I'm pressing towards the top. Remember, the top would be with the F in the top left corner and then the A in the top right corner. So I have 4 of those that look just like this. I love these colors. They're coming out so great together. I love that. It looks like that we're going to go ahead and set these off to the side after completing step number 6, and it looks like we need some new fabric for step number 7. So I'm going to go ahead and set these off to the side and grab fabric for step 7. All right, moving on to step 7, it says to sew a large triangle A and a large triangle of E together. I can't tell you how much I love these tiny fruits in this colorway. They're just so adorable. But yeah, we're making 4 half square triangles that have A and E in them, just like this. And then we're going to press it towards our A fabric and we'll be good to go. So we're going to make 4 of these, and I'll be back when it's time to press them all out. Okay, I have finished sewing those together, so now it is time to press them out. And these are bigger half square triangles, so it takes me an extra second to get these pressed out because they are bigger, and so it takes a little bit longer for me to iron them out. All right, there we go. So it looks like that when we're all done. We got all 4 of those. We've pressed them towards our A fabric, and now we're going to bring in our step 6 to move on to step 8, if that makes sense. Let me move these out of the way, and we'll move on to step 8. Okay, for step 8, it says to join step 6 to the left of step 7, and we're going to make 4 of these. So we're just going to combine them just like that. So we have our checkerboard and our half square triangle, and we're going to make 4 of these, and we're getting closer and closer to the end. Okay, we have completed step number 8, and we press towards our half square triangle of A and E. So I'm going to press that out just like so. Again, these tiny fruits are just, I love this colorway because those tiny fruits just make it amazing. All right, so mine are a little wonky, but that's okay. So that's completing step number 8. Let's go ahead and move on to step number 9, where we're going to be bringing in what we did earlier for step number 4. Okay, I have moved on to step number 9, and it says to join a step 8 above step 4, and we're going to make 4 of these. So we're just making a big block just like this. It's going to be a 4.5 by 4.5 inch block, and we're just connecting them just like this, and we're going to do this 4 times. All right, I have gone ahead and done that. I've sewn all that together. I actually had to sew it twice because even I make mistakes, and sewed it the wrong direction the first time. So anyways, we're going to be pressing towards the bottom, or the one that has the most A pieces in it, if that makes any sense at all. So it should look something like this when you're all done. I've got a string that I've got to cut, or yeah. Anyways, I have to cut that in a moment. Cut that thread. That's the word I was looking for. Thread. All right, so this is what we have when we're done. We have 4 of these in total. And you have your little corner that has your fabric C in it. So it should look like this. Looks like we're going to set this off to the side and move on to step number 10. Okay, moving on to step 10. This should feel very familiar because we've done lots of these. From clue number 1, it says to join a large triangle of A to a large triangle of C, and we're going to make 8 of these in total. So we're making large half square triangles just like that. We're going to make 8 of these, and I'll be back when it's time to press it out. All right, I have made all 8 half square triangles. I'm pressing this towards our A fabric as the directions entail. So I'm going to just press it out just like that. Now I have our half square triangles that have A fabric and C fabric, and the C fabric goes like that. All right, now it's time to move on to step 11. Step 11 is easy. All we're going to do is attach a large square of A to the left of step 10, and we're going to make 8 of these. So we're just attaching that square just like that. This should feel very familiar because, like I said, we did a lot of these on clue number 1, I should say. So I'm going to go ahead and put these together, and I'll come back when it's time to press them all out. All right, I'm going to go ahead and press my last one. We're pressing towards our half square triangle. So our CA half square triangle is the direction that we're pressing in. And there we go. I have done all 8 of those. Whew, that is very reminiscent of what we did on the first one. And in fact, we're going to do that again, like we did on clue 1. We're going to move on to step number 12, where it says to turn step 11 upside down and then join to another step 11 unit. And we're going to make 4 of these in total. So we have our bow tie kind of shape just like that. We're going to make 4 of these in total, and then we'll come back here when it's time to press it all out. Okay, I have, as you can see, sewn those together. It is time to press upwards. It doesn't really matter. You can either put it this way or this way. It's the exact same thing. So it doesn't really matter as long as you're keeping your, C fabric up in the right quadrant. Does that make sense? As long as you're doing that, then you're good. So I've pressed it up just like that. Okay, so we are done with our step number 12. Let's move to our last step, step 13. All right, for step number 13, it says to join a step 12 unit to the left of, this is our step 12. Step 12 to the left of a step 9 unit. We're going to make 4 of these, and they should measure 16.5 by 8.5. I'll be honest, you've heard me say this on the channel before. I don't really measure. Don't really measure because most of the time they come out just fine. So we'll put them together just like this with our C down here in the bottom right corner, our E over here on the right side, and then our bow tie on the left. So it should look something like this when we're all done. I'm going to go ahead and sew them together, and then I'll meet you here when it's time to press it all out. Okay, pressing this out can get a little tricky because we got a lot of bulk here in the center. So I'm kind of starting on the back side. Normally I would iron it from the front, and then if I needed to make some adjustments, I would flip it over. but I can already tell that this one's just, it's going to be a little tough, so just heat that point up and get it nice and flat as best as you can, and then you can attack it from the front side. But we're going to be pressing towards our step 12. There we go. Didn't get perfect points on all of them, but pretty close. So that's what it should look like, which this looks really strange to me. I don't know what this is going to turn into, but I always love, it always comes out some way, and I never know how it works together and how, I don't know, it's just awesome. But anyways, so go ahead and label these with either section 2 or clue 2. I like to write clue, but it doesn't matter, you can write either one, and store these away, and we are done with step 2 of So Sweet.